Hey, what's up? David with Brazos Valley Barbell. Today we're going to be talking about leg drive and a lot of the things that we can do better to make our setups better, to make our bench press stronger, and to maintain more consistency, especially at the top end of our lifts. So I wanted to start off with a lot of the misconceptions about what leg drive is and what it isn't. And the main thing would be that leg drive is not going to be this magical tool that gets the bar to fly off your chest and really to just make the bar fly from your chest to lock out and make your bench press infinitely stronger. But what it can do is it can just make your setup a whole lot more effective, make you maintain tightness through the whole rep, and add consistency and strength to your whole lift. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about with the leg drive is really going to be just about making sure that your setup is as strong as it can be, and making sure that you maintain tightness through the entire rep and not lose tightness and not miss reps really when there could have been an alternative just by getting set up better. So we're going to go step by step. The main setup and a lot of the little things I've covered already in my bench press setup and technique video, but this one is going to be talking about specifically how the legs interact with the other portions of the lift. So to get going with it, we're going to start off with the very beginning of the setup. And I think sometimes people underestimate how much height you can get from your toes or just bridging your legs up as high as you can. One of the cues that I use, where obviously everyone knows that we're trying to get our traps to dig into the bench, but if we visualize that we're trying to get our body vertical from the ceiling and dig our traps into the bench that way, trying to get as tall as we can and bridge down into the bench. We see guys like Sean Noriega or Owen Hubbard or some of these guys that have these really good arches, how sometimes it almost looks like they're kissing the bench press with their face. If we use that technique and we just we use our legs to bridge our hips up as high as we can and try to almost feel like we're hanging from the ceiling during our setup, then that'll start us off in the right direction a whole lot better. So use your toes. If you stay flat-footed, you're never going to get as high as you can. So bridge up on your toes to get your traps as dug into the bench as you can. Now, right after this, I think is where people start missing pieces. So people know that you need to try to dig your traps in the bench and try to get as high up on your shoulders as you can, but people do a really bad job of maintaining that. And so I think what the main thing that needs to happen is that already we're thinking about using leg drive. So once you bridge up, I can't just relax and set my body down on the bench. I need to continue pushing with my legs and the cue that I use is I need to try to touch my chest to the bar, but that's never going to happen on its own. So I have to use my legs to push my chest to meet the bar. I'm going to maintain that through my entire setup. So anytime that my hips rise during my setup process, it's coming from my legs trying to push my chest back at the barbell. So once I bridge up, I can't stop pushing with my legs. Obviously I have to relax to some degree, but I'm always maintaining some degree of force back at the rack and my chest pushing towards the bar. So already we're using more leg drive than probably what a lot of people would anticipate. The other part of this setup is that I think people can get a whole lot more uncomfortable during their setup than they think that they can be. And I think your setup should be more uncomfortable than what people think that are really capable of. So we're not talking about pain, we're just talking about effort, I think, when I'm saying uncomfortable. So that I'm really pushing with my legs, and then once I'm bridged up and I've already started cueing that chest towards the bar, the best cue I think is going to be to curl your hips down to the bench. So once I'm bridged up, I can't just lay flat down and think that I'm going to maintain that arch. So once I'm pressing with my chest towards the bar, I think about my hips curling down to the bench, and that's how I'll lay myself down. So I'm maintaining that pressure through my legs back at the bar, sliding across the bench press. I saw the cue, apparently it clicked with a whole lot of people recently, is to try to push, imagine you're in an office chair and try to slide across the bench. I thought that one worked well, but whatever makes it work to where you're trying to push force back across the bench press, and I like thinking about pushing force through my chest at the barbell. So from there, I'm maintaining that, sliding the office chair, whatever you want to think, and I curl my hips down so that I can maintain that pressure away from my feet. And through that, hopefully I can be able to keep tension through the whole rep. Now, the last part of this is going to be in hip extension. So if people's butts come off the bench press, To me, that's another factor of leg drive, is that you could have and should have been pushing harder with your legs through the whole rep. So by extending with your quads or pushing with your quads, we should be able to create good hip extension through the whole rep and maintain that arch better, but your hips are a big part of that as well. So when I bridge up, I should be finding that highest or the most extended position with my hips. And from there, when I curl my hips back down onto the bench, I should be able to do a good job of maintaining that extension through my hips. And as I set my feet and keep that position the same, my butt should never come up, just by a product of keeping my hip extension and keep my legs driving. So if your butt's coming off the bench, then you need to look at leg drive. It's gonna be actually the first part of it, and look at your setup and actually go through the process that I just laid out, go through that chain, and it starts at the top, but it always finishes with the legs being a big part of what's happening. So those factors will obviously play a role into making sure that your setup is as good as it could be, but it will also play a role in strength through the whole rep. So whether you're doing a self unrack or not, one of the cues that I like to use is that I'm unracking the bar with my legs, but it all goes back to that meet the bar with your chest. So when I'm unracking the bar, I push myself down into the bench away from the bar, but I'm using my legs to push my chest towards the bar, and that helps keep my shoulders stable. So through the whole rep, the bar will be pushing down onto my shoulders, and my legs will be pushing back to help my chest stay arched, to help keep my rib cage up and to maintain that tightness in my upper back. And that's what will keep me tight and keep my power through the whole rep. So if I press and everything is nice and tight, my legs are pressing, and then my legs relax, I'll get flat, my shoulders get soft, and then I'll miss my rep halfway up because I've lost that stability that I gained from pushing with my legs. The pushing with my legs helps drive my shoulders or my chest on top of my shoulders and maintain that pressure there. If I miss or if I stop with the leg drive, everything relaxes and then I lose tension up top, and then it becomes much more difficult. So as far as the reps go, we can think of leg drive as also just tightness through the whole rep. I like to think of leg drive in the bench press the same way that I think of bracing or pulling slack on deadlifts, or just bracing in the squat and creating tension in your upper back. But people probably, I think people think about leg drive in the same way that it might be something like rebound in the squat, is that they're putting the cart before the horse. So leg drive first and foremost should be a component of tightness and a component of making your bench press more consistent. Now with some people like myself who do a little bit more of a sinking touch or sinking press on the bench press, it can be used as a tool to get the bar to have a little bit more spring off your chest, but we're never really relaxing with the legs. All of the processes that I laid out in front of this still are taking place through that whole rep. It's just it's also using, it's still the same cue about trying to meet your chest to the bar or drive your chest up towards the rack. When I'm getting the bar to move off my chest, that cue is still what's happening. It's just the bar has sunk into my chest a little bit, and then I reinforce the pressing with my legs and reaching my chest up, and it can give the bar a little bit of spring, but I really shouldn't have relaxed. If I relax, then halfway up, I'm gonna lose tightness, I'm gonna be missing those reps. So hopefully that video was helpful. If you have any questions, leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.